Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday's Wrestling Talk. And tonight, we review World Championship Wrestling from September the 21st. I believe it is September the 21st, 1985. Am I correct about this, Rodney?
Yes, you are, and it starts off with a hot opening with Nikita Koloff ripping off Ric Flair's clothes. Flair goes through quite a bit of wardrobe in his wrestling career, and this is no exception as Nikita Koloff attacks him on television. The people were going absolutely bananas, and then we go to our regular opening with David Crockett and Tony Schiavone, and this week, the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, the AWA World Tag Team Champions, will be on television here today, as well as the return of the man with the hands of stone, Ron Garvin. First interview was with the United States Heavyweight Champion Tully Blanchard with Baby Doll. Now, apparently Baby Doll was showing way too much, so Tully said, you need to cover up a little bit there because you don't want to give them too much. And of course, he talks about Magnum TA and the Andersons. For whatever reason, this company is other stars obsessed with watches. We're not sure why, but Tully Blanchard, United States Heavyweight Champion, again, perfect interview from him in the first match. It's the Russian team, six-man tag team match. Ivan Nikita Koloff along with Crusher Khrushchev to face Ron Rossi, Mike Simani, and Paul Garner. Of course, the loser of this match will get a year's membership to a weight club, which these guys really did need it in this particular match. In the end, it's the Russians winning it. Nikita Koloff catching it with the Russian signal, double Russian signal on that, both on Rossi and Garner in a tremendous double pin in that match. Then match number 2 is the Nature Boy Buddy Landel with James J. Dillon versus Larry Clark. Again, Buddy Landel on top of his game with a spinning elbow and the figure 4 leg lock as he talks about Ric Flair and asking the people who's the real Nature Boy and that kind of thing. Also, we have the interview with the Russians. Ivan Koloff tells Tony Schiavone to step away, go over there and pick David Crockett's nose. Which it seemed like Tony wasn't offended by that. But anyway, Ivan Koloff conducted the interview. They talk about Ric Flair, talk about the Road Warriors of Rock and Roll Express and the cage match coming up with Ric Flair and Nikita Koloff for the World Heavyweight Championship. Match number 3, and this was an odd one. Starts off with Arn Anderson in the ring with Jim Jeffers and Mark Cooper. Of course, the graphics did not say that. It just said Arn Anderson versus Jim Jeffers. All of a sudden, Ole comes up and he said, I'll help you in this match. In the end, it's Arn with the cork buster on Mark Cooper. Interview met Magnum T and Dusty Rhodes talking about the Andersons, talking about Dusty, talking about the Barbarian and Paul Jones challenging him for the World Television Championship. And of course, they're also talking Ric Flair. Magnum TA is talking about Tully Blanchard and the Andersons on this show. Match number 4 has Ron Garvin returning to face the Black Cat, who I believe was Gerald Finley in this, but I'm not sure. But I believe it was Gerald Finley. Yep. In the end, the Black Cat catches goes for the drop kick. Ron Garvin catches the rope, and then it's Ronnie Garvin with the big hands of stone punch to the head, and it's all over for the Black Cat in that one. Match number 5, we see footage from, I think, Worldwide Wrestling. With Superstar Billy Graham looking better than ever. Finally, he loses the karate pants, and he's looking like the superstar again as he faces George South. It's short work for George South as Superstar Billy Graham catches him in the full Nelson in that one. It's back with the interview with Dusty. He's talking about the Barbarian again, and in the ring, Dusty stands there during the match as the Barbarian with Paul Jones versus Lee Ramsey. Of course, the Barbarian wins that one with the headbutt off the top rope. They go to the desk where Dusty's still there, challenging Dusty. Dusty gets in the ring. The Barbarian and Paul Jones, they're on the outside, but Paul doesn't want to do it right then, even though he's challenged him week after week on the program. Next up, wow, this keeps going. A match that was absolutely riveting for the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. And Ric Flair was out there to do commentary to give these guys a little bit of credibility, I think, as Denny Brown faced Gary Royal. In the end, it's Denny Brown winning with the Oklahoma Roll over Gary Royal for the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. Interview is Jim Crockett talking about the Championship Wrestling Series coming up Next week, it's going to be for the National Heavyweight Championship. And get your popcorn for this one. It's going to be Black Bart against Terry Taylor. Should be exciting. Interview comes up. It's the Road Warriors and Paul Ellering finally back on World Championship Wrestling. They're the AWA World Tag Team Champions. They have their belts. They talk about the Russians. They talk about the Freebirds. They talk about Dusty Rhodes. And it was good to see Paul Ellering in the Road Warriors back. Paul Ellering on top of his game. Just a fantastic interview. Match number 7, Magnum TA versus Tony Zane. I'm not even going to tell you how that went in. It didn't last long. Magnum TA is over in that one. And then an interview with Magnum TA. He talks about Tully Blanchard again. And then an interview with Jim Cornette talking about the Rock and Roll Express ducking the Midnight Express. And then, of course, the rock and roll music plays at that point. And then, of course, they were going to the football pre-show or whatever it is that they were doing at the time. Match number 8, the Rock and Roll Express versus Mac Jeffers and Richard Dunn. The Rock and Roll Express now, Ricky Morton has the Russian chain. Apparently, the Russians tried to hang Ricky Morton in a previous show. Now they have the Russian chain, apparently building up for Russian change matches with Ivan Koloff and Nikita. In the end, it's the Mac Jeffers getting the double drop kick. Ricky Morton getting the pin on that one. Rock and Roll Express with the interview, and they're talking about the Russian chain matches. And, of course, like we were talking about earlier, match number 9, Terry Flynn and Vernon Deaton versus the Road Warriors with Paul Ellering. And, of course, like I said, they're the AWA Tag Team Champions. In the end, it's Animal with a power slam off the second rope. And the Road Warriors win that one. Interview with Jimmy Valiant along with Rocky King. Now, Rocky, earlier we had Pez Watley saying that he's taken Rocky King under his wing. But now Jimmy Valiant has stepped in where Pez Watley apparently did not want to step in. They're talking about Jim Cornette, the Midnight Express. And Jimmy Valiant wants Big Mama back to take care of Jim Cornette, and that's going to be some good stuff coming up very shortly. Match number 10, Midnight Express against Jimmy Blackland. I believe is Jimmy Backlund later on. He was awesome in this match. He and Italian Stallion versus Midnight Express. Cornette was talking about Valiant and King. In the end, it's Bobby coming off the knee, off the top rope on Backlund, and then Condrey drops him off the top rope. On the top rope, and it's over for Backlund and the Italian Stallion. Midnight Express over. The last of the program featured Ronnie Garvin talking about Black Bart, the national title, and talks about Ric Flair. And that was the extravaganza that was World Championship Wrestling for the 21st of September of 1985.
Well,
that was a lot.
The good, bad, and ugly. Tell us give us your review of this show.
I was sitting there watching the show, and my youngest daughter, who's 11 years old, who's not a wrestling fan per se, was walking through, and Jimmy Valiant was doing his interview, and she stopped, and she watched, and she said, "Who is that?" And I told her who it was, and she said, "Well, I'd watch him." Now, to me, that's the highlight. You know, when a guy like that can catch your kid's attention, just doing an interview, he didn't do the match, just done the interview. I like that. I like everything Jimmy does. The Road Warriors were great coming back. I will say that Gerald Finley is better as the Black Cat than Gerald Finley.
That's something, isn't it? And you know, sometimes people are self-conscious, and under the mask, it's a whole new identity for them.
So anyway, that's it was a average show, other than great to see the Road Warriors back. There's nothing over the top except for them. And I too was confused about the Rocky King thing, but I'm just watching. I don't.
Well, let me tell you, I thought the beginning of this show, Flair getting attacked by the Russians, man, they were attacking him here in that thing, wasn't they?
Yeah.
Man, that was some good stuff. But let me ask y'all this question. Was Ole Anderson in a very foul mood on this program? Because he certainly beat them poor old boys to death.
Yeah.
You know what? I think always in a foul mood.
Yeah.
And probably he and Dusty went around and around again.
Is that the reason he wasn't out there at the beginning? Did he not like what was going on? He just waited? Because the poor old guy was standing in the corner, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, they just said this was a singles match. Why why is this guy standing in the corner with this? I thought maybe the handicap match, and all at once, Ole comes out there, and I mean, he beats them poor. I felt bad for him.
There was confusion there because the graphics only had a single match.
Yeah.
The graphics had only Arn Anderson against who was he? He was against
Jeff.
Yeah, and so and then all of a sudden there's two. I thought it was, well, maybe it's a handicap match. I think everybody was confused. I think Tony was confused. I just, oh my goodness, yeah.
I'll tell you the bad Dusty Rhodes Magnum TA interview. It was just another heel interview done by Dusty. It just didn't come over well at all. And Magnum TA, I think he followed suit on Dusty, and he did a heel interview as well. No wonder they were booing them and cheering the Four Horsemen later on.
Yeah.
So I can see why. I also love Johnny Garvin again. I thought that was spectacular. And I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I said I wasn't going to watch the Guerrero Royal and Denny Brown match. But you know what? I didn't think it was a bad match. What about you, Jack?
Oh, I thought it was a good match. It really was. It's better than like you. It was better than I expected.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't fault them. They're both very, very talented. There's just not a lot of charisma going on in there.
Guerrero Royal was a great wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he took great bumps. I thought everything he did looked good. And it was good to see the Road Warriors. And by the way, did you see who was picking up jackets during this program?
No, I don't think so.
Teddy Long. Teddy Long.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Teddy Long picking up jackets. And by the way, Jimmy Backlund would become Jimmy Del Rey of the Heavenly Bodies.
That's right.
It was a good step. I thought it was a good program. And like I said, I said I wasn't going to watch Guerrero Royal and Diddy Brown, and I thought that was it was a great match.
I agree with you on that. Of course, as you know, I've been accused of being negative.
Well, you've been accused of people not liking. You didn't like anything. That's what I said last night. If anybody missed it, go back and watch it. It's available on. It's
well, I hate to correct people, as you know, because that was incorrect. But no,
Jack, before we move on and talk to the insiders, people have asked how they get over to and what they're going to get out of the supporting. And so I want to throw that little thing up there, Jack, if you'll tell everybody about that.
Yeah. Okay. For the Insider Nation, for $2.99 a month, you get 2 weekly Insider Nation live streams only for the supporters. You can watch us record videos for YouTube on Monday and Tuesday and interact with us. You can, there's posts for supporters on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, polls to help us decide what we discuss, weekly recorded video to discuss the photos posted just for supporters posted on Sundays, personal updates on any upcoming live events, interviews, virtual events, etc. And we do have a lot coming up, and the insiders, the supporters, will be the first to hear about whatever we've got up our sleeve.
And that is all. We got a lot of things coming up for 2021. If everything will get out of our way, we got a lot of stuff going on. Yes, Rodney?
You interrupted me right in front of my brilliant comments that I was about to make. I will make the 2. Number 1, the Russians against the Rossi, Samani, Paul Garner. That was embarrassing. Those guys looked like that they had went out and given some wrestling tights to some people in the front row or something. You want to be a wrestler today? Who are we wrestling? Russians. Oh, sure. Why not? And then I thought that, I'm with you with the Gary Royal. We have not seen him. That was the first time we ever saw him on the program. And here he was, World Junior Champion. We never saw him win the belt. We never saw him. They never featured him. And then they want to put this as a championship series match on TBS. I'm just kind of wondering where the thinking was in that. Gary Royal was great. He was really, really good. And they needed to feature him a little bit more and made that match more important. And if they would have, they talked about it the week before, they could have at least had an interview with him.
Yeah, since he was the champion, you would thought they would have done an interview with him, but they never interviewed Denny Brown either.
No, they did not.
So that belt didn't really mean that enough to them to even give them an interview. They must have been in the same deal with Brad Armstrong in Mid-South Wrestling. They just didn't give him an interview. And then start changing the narrative years later and go, oh, by the way, he couldn't do the interview. Well, I don't know. You didn't give him a chance. So how do you know if Denny Brown or Gary Roll could do it because you didn't give them one to see?
There was no microphone in their face. So here you
That's
go.
Right. All right, folks, here we are with the Insiders. Richard Hood, one of our supporters. Richard, I want you to know that I am working on, and hopefully sometime this month, maybe next month, we will get to the All South Wrestling and a lot of things. Now, I will tell you, it's very hard to find information about this. There was a lot of people that talked about this, but we will go over matches. I can tell you matches that happen, cards that happen, and that's the one thing we can tell. And we also can tell stories about Ted Oates and Wayne Cowan, Dirty Dutch Mantel. I do know some stories on them and their feud they had that they had for a long period of time. But other than that, not a lot of people talked about that time. It's a hush situation going on for that time period. Victor Nash, hello guys. Hope all is well. Yes, it is. Victor Nash, our supporter, one of our supporters as well. There's Michael Barr. Hello from Southeast Alabama. Dr. Phil Bogrice. No angry faces tonight. Mickey Mayfield, Commerce, Georgia. Hello from Commerce, Georgia. Stuart Kemp said, tried going last night for Soares, no invite, missed all the good discussion.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, well, sorry. It's okay, Stuart. We were talking about you. That's why.
Oh, by the way, Stuart, where you get that from is it should be in what's that little notifications? It should be right in that notifications, and every morning on Monday and Tuesday you should receive that, and all you have to do is click on the link and it'll take you right directly to that. So it's if you have any problems, make sure that you just go ahead and message us, and we'll get you on there, no problem. Michael Barr, the good, bad, and ugly, huh? Sounds like a Clint Eastwood movie. Yeah. There's some things we could really say sometimes about some of the matches, but you just try. You can't be mean all the time, except for Rodney.
I mean it in the nicest possible way.
Michael Barr, I will remember the matches between the Legion of Doom versus Doom.
Yeah.
They had some good matches. Yep. Richard Hood did say Rodney the Black Cat was Gerald Finley. Victor Nash, superstar Billy Graham, not even Hulk Hogan could lace up the superstar's boots.
Yeah, I really like the new look, or the really going back look that he had. That whole karate thing was was awful.
Kevin Penley asked, he said, I know this was before Amazon, but did they get the Russian chain from Russia?
They brought it over because remember TSA was not such a thing back then. And to give you an example, in 2000, I flew to New York and carried brass knuckles in my bag to a show up there. And when they went through my bag and said, what are these for? I said, I'm a professional wrestler. And they said, okay, handed them back. And I went on my way.
I'd say they couldn't even bring that chain on the flight with them today.
No, not today.
They'd have to buy a chain everywhere.
Every show.
That'll be in every production truck.
Well, I mean, you can put it. Yeah, you can put it in a production truck or the ring truck. Sure.
Michael Barr said, "Great rundown there, Rodney."
Oh, thank you.
We are going to try to do that now for our Mid-South Wrestling Review and our World Championship Wrestling Review. We're going to have Rodney run it down, and then we'll go back and do a review. It won't take as long, and we'll only talk about the good, bad, and ugly during the show instead of the whole show. It can get a little long. Sometimes it went on for 30 minutes. So Richard Hood said, you guys remember Bill Tabb?
Sure do.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did he wrestle as in Continental?
He was like a humongous type, wasn't he, right?
Didn't he team with Detroit Demolition for a while?
I only remember him once with Downtown Bruno. He just popped up. I had his name, and when I was doing the ring announcement, I asked Downtown Bruno where he was from, and he said it was from none of your business. So I announced him from none of your business.
Yes, I remember. I don't remember what he wrestled.
Yeah, well,
Black Assassin.
Black Assassin.
That's what Richard was saying. Yeah.
Michael Barr said Dusty Rhodes against Ric Flair was a great match. They always had great matches. Mickey Mayfield said that was the most emotion I ever saw out of Rocky King. Well, you didn't see him when he got that payoff. He was
no, but that Jimmy Valiant is contagious though when he's out there. You have to, he's a lot of energy, so he gives energy to other people.
Glenn Allen Shelton, good evening to you. Victor Nash, Ron, you forgot America's team interview. He did forget that one. I believe he did.
What?
I don't remember him talking about Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA.
I most certainly did. I talked about Dusty and talking about the Barbarian with Paul Jones, and I also talked about Magnum TA talking about Telling and the Andersons.
All right, maybe I was taking a nap during that time.
I didn't call them America's team though. Not Magnum.
Well, they were the American heels. That's what.
Now another thing. Did I skip? I don't think I don't. You probably right, Victor. I might have skipped it. I don't know.
Rick said Ole was the perfect heel. Yes, he was.
Yeah,
I would say top 10 heels of professional wrestling, Ole would have to be number one.
Yeah.
He was one nasty individual when it came to wrestling. And people believed what Ole did was truly real. When they didn't think nothing else was, they thought Ole Anderson. Mickey said Ole is still in a bad mood. I heard Ole is in bad shape at this point.
Pretty bad shape.
I think Jack had what have you heard from? I think Charlie Smith has said some stuff about Ole.
Just his dementia's getting a lot worse. He doesn't really know anybody anymore.
Yeah, that's sad. It's sad to be able to see what Ole Anderson was, and no matter what people want to say about Ole Anderson, he made a lot of money. He was a great booker in professional wrestling. He knew the difference between bookers of that era and writers of today was Ole watched what the fans wanted. Yeah. He didn't necessarily like Tommy Rich. He just didn't. But he seen that the fans he was getting over. And so he said, well, all right, I don't like the kid, but hey, I'm gonna push the kid. And that's what he did. And he did that to everybody. He didn't have to like you. If you didn't get over, and there would have been a lot of instances where people didn't get over, like Tito Santana did not get over in Georgia. For whatever reason, he did not get over in Georgia. And I know he said some bad things about Ole, but Ole's going to push you if you get over. It don't matter if he likes you or not, which Ole don't like many people. No. But it wasn't because Ole didn't really like you. It was because Ole was all business. And if you didn't draw him money, you were gone. And he didn't want to be your friend and had to come to you and go, oh, by the way, I'm going to have to give you a 2-week notice. He didn't want to do that. That's the reason he wasn't your friend. That way it wasn't because he was really nice to us. He was always nice to us, and he was always nice to Dad. So
I remember our last show that we had him in town. I was able to talk a long period of time with him, and I start the story, and then he would pick it up. It was awesome. It was awesome talking about it.
Yeah, he was always good to us. Even as kids, he was good to us. Never was mean to us at any time. At any time, Ole Anderson was never mean to us. So he was always good to us. Kevin Penley said, I liked Ole better than Vince Jr. as a promoter. Ole never made fun of his job. What do y'all think, Jack?
Ole took it all serious. It was never a joke to him.
Rodney?
Ole just had problems with ties.
Yeah, he did do that for a while, didn't he? Michael Barr said, today the WCW and its fans were all confused.
Yeah, this was odd because this was the beginning of the Cornette Four Horsemen fan club started coming in. You had the guys starting to dress in suits, start getting in the studio to pick on, and then this is when Dusty kind of loses it.
He does. He starts getting rid of. He starts doing everything.
Thrown out. Yeah.
Glenn said he held the AWA titles. Teddy Long.
I guess he was talking about when you were talking about Teddy Long was picking up jackets, and he's
okay.
And yeah. I do remember him standing over there holding the belts.
Yes, and he also during that. That's right. He did hold them titles during that. He also soon will become a referee for World Championship Wrestling. I think no one showed up, and they said, "Hey, Teddy, how about you refereeing today?" That does happen. That's how you get in the wrestling business.
I like Mike Fever. He got referee status.
A lot of people got in the wrestling business because somebody didn't show up.
That's right.
Always bring your gear. If you're a professional wrestler, always bring your gear no matter what. You don't know when somebody's not going to show up. And that may be your big break. Kevin Barkwell, I thought Diddy Brown was a fantastic wrestler and had a pretty good ring style. What do you guys think, Jack?
Yeah, Denny was really good. You can't take away from his in-ring abilities. He just had very little charisma, which was, Denny probably would have fared better and longer if he were a heel with a good manager as a mouthpiece.
Yeah, Rodney?
Yeah, I agree with Jack on that. Absolutely.
Michael Barr said, Rodney, it's okay to be negative part of the time, but not all the time.
Well, I was not. I thought I said very good things about the Guerrero Rock and Roll Express match.
Let's remember, a real heel is justified.
That's right.
I meant it, every word of it, in the nicest possible way I could.
Glenn Allen Shelton said a lot was on Worldwide Wrestling with Bob Keidel. Now, that was a great show. We're going to have to go over that show at some point. That was a great show. Yeah,
Worldwide Wrestling was a great show.
Could it be because they were not that good behind a microphone? Could this be by there was no interview? But did they ever give them a chance of that? I mean, we really never knew if they were good or bad. They never gave them an interview to see if they were good or bad. So I unless they gave them an interview somewhere else that we didn't see,
that's possible.
At least give them a chance. I mean, if they're bad, they're bad.
Danny possibly, and maybe Gary Roll too, and on the Mid Atlantic show, but we never heard them off Atlanta TV.
No. Glenn Allen said, like Ted Oates and Jerry Oates. Oh, they were tremendous.
Yeah, they were great.
I love being in the ring with Jerry Oates. I learned so much from him.
Just a tremendous wrestlers in Columbus, Georgia. Man, they were over. Ted Oates drew money with Wayne Cowan, Dutch Mantel. He also drew some good money with Bobby Eaton there in the main events. While Ole didn't want to use them in the Omni and places like that, Ron West took them to Columbus, Georgia, but on one of the main events with Ted Oates, big time houses with those two guys on the main event. So
Jerry Oates is back in Columbus now and has reopened Oates Brothers Gym.
All right.
We're gonna have to talk to Jerry,
I should say.
That would be awesome, and he would know a lot about the Gunkel Enterprises too.
Yes, he would. Victor Nash said, okay, it's 2021. It's time for the shows on Butch Reed and Kevin Sullivan. Yes, we are going to do that. Now, Rodney might have to be gone that day when we do the Kevin Sullivan.
Well, it depends on which portion of Kevin Sullivan's career we're going to go after.
Well, we will be talking about, we'll start at his beginning of his career. A lot of people don't realize, but Kevin Sullivan started sometime in the 60s.
I have some early pictures, or I've seen early pictures of Kevin Sullivan. You wouldn't think it's him. You wouldn't think it's him.
Well, let me write this down and make sure that I do put it on the I'm usually about 2 weeks ahead. That's the reason I don't know from 1 week to a week what we're actually going to talk about, because I forget. So I will make sure this is right down. We got Mr. Wrestling 2. Robert Walker going to come on, show a North American title. Show a bunch of videos that he has gotten now, and we're going to be doing that coming up in 2021 as well, Victor. So a lot of things to talk about this year. A lot of things in the works. We're going to be talking more about Buzz Sawyer. We're going to be talking more about Tommy Rich as he gets ready to head to Georgia Championship Wrestling. I think the last video we had talked about a lot of his Memphis stuff, and I think the next one may still be a little bit of Memphis, but he is on his way to Georgia, where he becomes the major superstar. Kevin Penley, will we have any former wrestlers on the show in the future? Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We just talked to Tom Pritchard. He will be coming back on the show. We'll also get in touch with Tim Horner. Tim Horner will be back on it, and we got a lot of people we're going to talk to. And maybe if things clear up in the world, we'll actually go to them and talk to them in person. And that's what we're
Steve Armstrong's also interested in doing the show.
That's right, Steve Armstrong. So there is a lot of guys that we are going to talk to. We had some problems for a while with when people would get in, you'd only hear half of what they had to say. But the platform that we're on now, they have actually went in with another company. And anytime we have a lag, it's supposed to jump to some other network. So hopefully that has took care of that problem. I'm hoping anyway. Stuart Kim, there was no notifications last night. Saw one this morning. I'm not this tech-savvy guy. Well, it should be on there. It should only be for supporters. But what we'll do, Stuart, is I'll send that directly to you so you can get that one each. Well, Michael Barr, he said he wasn't tech savvy as well. Richard Hood did say the Black Assassin. Kevin Penley also said that was Michael Barr said, Jack, did you ever carry around a Russian sickle?
No, but I learned to use an Alabama one from my grandpa cutting wheat when we were little.
Hey, now I'm going to tell you something. Jack went through a lot of gimmicks throughout his time.
I was a Russian.
We went to a show in Alabama, and he was one of the machines.
Yep. I was a machine. I was a Russian assassin. Somebody asked me that the other day, and I started trying to count off, and I couldn't even tell you how many mask gimmicks I did.
You know, one night we used Jack, and what was your partner's name? I can't remember his name now. When y'all did the Heart Seekers,
the Heartbreakers,
yeah,
Monty Rodriguez.
We used them one time, and I think it was in Castleberry, Alabama. And Jack worked about 4 times on that.
I did work 4 times.
He came out as some masked man to begin with.
Well, I did a singles match as me. I came back in the second mask as Jason from Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Then we did the tag match, and then we had a blindfold battle royal, and I was in there the entire 45 minutes. It came down to me and Danny Davis. So yeah, I will say I got paid very well that night.
That was an interesting show. I think Steve Armstrong was on that show.
Yep.
Maybe Scott. I can't remember.
Exactly. I remember Steve being there. I think Scott was. I know.
Wendell Cooley was there too, I believe.
Yeah, Wendell was who I was trying to think of.
It was a pretty good show. Now, I will tell you that night was not the greatest night that I ever had, but hey, I've had a lot of those in the professional wrestling. Bama Captain is with us. I don't know. Bama Captain's been with us Before. I was a fan of Ted DiBiase as a tag team. Now, Steve O was tremendous.
Yeah, he was.
And was a great guy. Ted DiBiase, the same, great wrestler. Steve O just didn't get that. He hurt himself, and then after he did a lot of commentary after that. When he hurt his arm, Kabuki kicked what he actually did, he was going to go block one of Kabuki's kicks. And when he did, he really got kicked hard in the hand. And for a long time, he didn't do nothing about it. The thing just got bigger and bigger and bigger until he couldn't use his hand for a long time. I would say a good 5 months, and they let him do commentary on TV.
Look, his hand looked really bad. It got to the place where it looked like a mannequin's hand, really.
Yeah, it looked bad. It was horrible. But Steve O was a nice guy, though.
He really was.
I guess Steve O is still around. I think he's maybe selling insurance or.
Yeah, I think he's on Facebook.
I'd like to talk to him. He had a great career in professional wrestling, and a lot of times in Georgia, I remember when and Rodney might remember this. They did a thing where Dusty Rhodes got beat up by Don Carson. He got hit with a 2x4, and he couldn't go against the Mongolian Stomper in the Omni in Atlanta. And so here comes the Mongolian Stomper in the ring. They don't have an opponent. Dusty's hurt. Steve-O comes out. Man, them people booed Steve-O really bad that night. I'll never forget that. Man, they booed him. Because they wouldn't see Dusty Rhodes. Regardless of what Steve-O is or as good as he is, the people say, well, that ain't Dusty Rhodes. But he did that night. Steve-O did win the National Heavyweight Championship by defeating Mongolian Stomper, and they did respond really good to that. Even though they booed him at the beginning, they did respond when he beat him. Because I don't think they thought he would. And I think that was the coup de grace for that. Victor Nash, what did Flair say that got under Landell's skin before his match because Landell was mad?
I'm not sure because it wasn't on there. I actually rewound it to see, or went back to see if it was on there. And the interview with Flair was not on there, but Landell was in the ring. So I'm not quite sure if that was.
I got to ask the question about the show. Was it pieced together? To be two, did they tape this in two different times? Because sometimes those guys in the suit was sitting on the front row, and sometimes they were sitting in the back row.
It's very possible. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, unless it was part of what we saw was part of the morning show and the night show. But if you'll go back and watch it, the guys in the suits, the Jim Cornette suits, I guess, they're sitting in the front row, and then all at once they're sitting in the back row. On maybe the next match.
They might have moved them because they had those tennis rackets, or not those badminton rackets up there. They might have moved them to the back. Maybe they were pounding them on the ring apron or something.
Could have been. All right, Dusty said, let me get them boys off after all. We don't want to know they love the heels, baby. Get them off. I don't know if that happened or not. It could. Mickey Mayfield said Hawk looked like he was having a little trouble lifting the man up. Animal to come off the second rope.
Yeah, Animal had to snatch him up, put him up on his arm. But once Animal had him up, it was over. I mean, he got him.
Michael Barr asked, when did Van Vader get a start in WCW? Was that 1990? 1991?
90 or 91.
Yeah.
Seems like.
I remember seeing the video, though. Our father was there at the time, and he said, you got to watch this video of Stan Hansen and Vader. And we watched that where he knocked his eye out. And that was it is an incredible match. Just an incredible match, folks. Is it available on the internet? Can you see that match on the internet?
I'm sure the Vader Stan Hansen is still there. In fact, I think I saw it on there not too long ago.
S. White said, Ole had a problem with Bruiser Brody also, who didn't have great success in Georgia. The only thing, I seen a comment about that, but Bruiser Brody and Ole Anderson, Bruiser Brody wasn't working there when Ole Anderson was the booker. That was Buck Robley that was booking there. So I don't know if Ole had that just messed up at some point. Maybe he did use them earlier, but during the time he came to Atlanta, the only time I remember is in the 1980s when Buck Robley was booking. And he actually got fired. Somebody said, well, he ate a light bulb or something on television. No, that's not got him fired. We told that story before. He got fired because he put a man in a wheelchair and kicked him out of it. That is what got him fired. You got to remember, TBS is not the TBS of today. That during that time, they wouldn't let you do anything. No brooms, no chairs, nothing could be done on that television show. And even to pile drive Ted DiBiase on the floor, they had to do a lot of talking to get that dared. So, it just wasn't so I don't know where Ole might have had a problem with Bruiser Brody because during the time in Georgia, unless he used him when he was in the Carolinas, and I don't remember that happening either. Jack, do you remember Bruiser Brody and Ole?
No, I never heard any issues between them.
But I mean, it could have, but Victor Nash, is Ole still living? I know Arn is in the ADBA, but I haven't heard nothing about Ole. No, Ole is still living, but he does have dementia and doesn't remember a lot of people. So, how old would Ole be, Jack? Do you know?
He's in his 80s.
Yeah, he's up there, and but Ole, tremendous. Do you guys have Ole's book called "How Corporate America Destroyed Pro Wrestling"? Yes, I believe it's back there, ain't it? Yep, right there it is.
Right there, right here, right there.
Yes. You know, I'll tell you a story about that, and then we're going to have to go here in a minute. But I'll tell you a story about that. My father, Ronnie West, read that book. He calls Ole up on the phone. He said, Ole, you said I was making a certain amount of money. He says, since you told people I made that much money, you need to send me some of that money that I made. Because he didn't make the money that Ole said he made. I mean, he made good money while he was in Georgia, but not the money that Ole Anderson said. Also Ole, say that he got fired because he wouldn't do what he was asked to do. Dad would have done anything Ole Anderson told him to do. He wouldn't have argued with Ole about anything. So,
and I just looked up. Ole is 78 years old.
78.
Yeah, Kevin Skelton says that as well.
Let's see. Victor said Rodney probably has it. Yeah. Stuart Kemp, WCW didn't really push nor understand junior heavyweights. You never see it really as a division. There were some areas that gave some billing to light heavyweights, junior heavyweights. Why not here? What do y'all think, Jack?
I think that was still in the big man mentality era. The cruiserweights became a big part of WCW later on with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and during that time period. But they got over in spite of not being pushed. Yeah. They were just stuck out there. He just basically said, we don't care what y'all do. Y'all got airtime. Go out there and do something. They were more concerned. If it wasn't NWO, if it wasn't Sting, if it wasn't Hogan, they didn't care. They were just filling up 3 hours of airtime, and they stuck those guys out there. But when you look back, of course, everybody remembers NWO, but everybody talks about Eddie Guerrero and, all those guys of that junior division that blew everybody away.
Yeah. Rodney, what do you think at this time those junior heavyweights are being pushed?
I think that they were Jimmy Crockett, especially. It was the Flair show, and that was all it's going to be. As you notice, Flair was out there during it, but this was the Flair Dusty show from this point on, and it's going to be this way until 89. It's going to be Flair and Dusty for 3 years coming up. So I think that's part of it. Now, Georgia itself did try to do a junior division at one time. They had the Georgia Junior Champion. That really went nowhere. I think it lasted for a little while. I think Bob Armstrong brought it in. Of course, they did real well in Continental and Southeastern with the United States Junior Championship. And some of those matches were awesome. They were normally the beginning, the opening matches. And lots of times the rest of the matches couldn't follow. It was just, they were just that good. Bill Ash and Scott Armstrong comes to mind. Another one was Ken Lucas and Rip Rogers stole the show and really could never follow it.
Larry Hamilton and Tom Pritchard. Yes. Another that people had a hard time following.
Tim Horner, Roy Lee Welch, Tim Horner and Tom Pritchard, Tom Pritchard and Scott Armstrong. They really put it together there, and I think they made it a priority, whereas others did not.
Vicky Mayfield said Ted Oates is on Facebook now.
Hey,
it's good to hear, Ted Oates. Michael Barr, were there two Mike Jacksons that wrestled, and as well two Danny Davises? Yes, they were two Danny Davises. I don't know about Mike Jackson. Jack?
There's only one Mike Jackson that I know of, and the two Danny Davises. One was a referee up in the Northeast and eventually went to work for WWE, and they used him as a wrestling referee gimmick there for a while, but the only one that was an actual real wrestler was our Danny Davis, Nightmare Danny Davis, that went on to found Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Kevin Barkwell, I guess I've always been a fan of Hills and thought Magnum TA would have made a good one after being so over as a babyface.
Yes, he would have.
Yep.
Yeah, he kind of had the attitude for it, if you think about it.
And that attitude grows as the years go on as well.
Yeah. Glenn Allen Shelton, the Boston bad boy, Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Skelton, hello from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Kevin Penley did have more gimmicks and name as Don Fargo.
I was close.
Rick C. Brooks, do you know the origin of Buzz Sawyer getting the name Mad Dog? Rodney, I'll let you handle this one.
Yeah, that came in Georgia. Gordon Soley, I do believe, was the person that that coined him or named him the Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. And Gordon did a lot of that. Gordon did a lot of that.
Stuart Kemp said Jack talks of gimmicks would be Dusty Wolf doing several gimmicks for Henry Hubert on the military circus.
Yeah,
I actually did 7 gimmicks in one day one time. I did a TV taping in Knoxville, 2 TV tapings. I did 5 matches, all different gimmicks. Drove all the way back to Boaz, Alabama, and worked twice that night.
Wow.
Richard Hood said, I met Steve-O at the NWA reunion in Atlanta. He was a super nice guy. Yeah, Steve-O was, and he was a great wrestler. He just didn't get that break for some reason.
Was I mistaken? Did he not have a teaching degree?
I think he did, yes.
I was thinking he did.
Richard Hood said he told me he wanted to get a return match for the Kabuki. I would have never wanted to wrestle him again after he did that to me. If you've seen in first, they move around for TV. I'm not for sure. Richard Hood said, he fired everybody. Yeah, at least once. He's fired somebody at least once. He loved firing people. Michael Barr, could it be that Ric Flair and Lindell were both called the Nature Boy? I could be wrong. Not for sure why they got upset with each other. It's not on the video, so. S. White said, what year did the Freebirds put Ted DiBiase in the hospital? It was a hot angle for us kids. What year was that, Rodney? 1980?
I believe it was, I think it was 1980, the Freebirds, because 81, I think they was Terry Gordy and Jimmy Snuka was teaming by that time.
Victor Nash asked question, why wasn't WCW or NWA pushing women wrestlers back in the 80s?
Very good question. NWA, I'm not sure, and especially because Moolah's offices was in South Carolina. I'm not quite sure why that it was. And quite frankly, though, WWF was using the women quite extensively with, Wendy Richter and Moolah and all them were up there. So that could be the reason they didn't use them in the NWA. Between
WWE and Japan, there wasn't just a ton of lady wrestlers back in this time.
No.
Either. So, you had a few on the independents, but the majority of them were, like you say, Moolah was booking them all over the place. So it's not like they needed the work. So even if WCW was wanting them, they weren't available for long-term deals.
Michael Barr asked, will there be any hearing about Continental Championship Wrestling? Yes, we have started that. It's on our YouTube channel. I think we've done the first one. I think the first one is up right now. We've done 3 total, but there's only one that's on YouTube right now. But yes, we have went back to it. Mitch Lucas has rejoined us. He hasn't for the first 2, but he has come back for the 3rd one. And yes, we are going back to talking about Continental Championship Wrestling, and we'll go all the way through.
Yeah, we're starting in 1985.
1985, the beginning of Continental Championship Wrestling. Aaron asks, was Jack the Continental Cat?
One show, I certainly was.
So was Rodney West, and so was Brent West.
I was the big fat Continental Cat.
We did that. We'll tell the story when we get when we have some time of how the Continental Cat all come along and what it was actually supposed to be and what it ended up becoming. But it was never really meant to be an angle, and never meant to be that. It just happened. And we'll tell the story one day about that because it's an interesting story, to say the least. Let me make sure we get everybody on here because we are going to have to leave. Today's wrestling needs more true heels and true faces. The tweeners just don't make it interesting. Yes, I agree with that. Jeremy Travis, good evening. Love the masks, Jack. Let's see. Dr. Phil Bullgry said, I grew up on Continental Championship Wrestling. Glenn Allen said they used women in other areas like Misty Blue, her and Linda Dallas, Cora Combs, Debbie Combs. I don't remember what's the other lady's name. I'm missing her name.
I remember Donna Day. I remember Donna Day at one time.
But who was the other girl that I'm missing right now? And she wrestled a lot of places.
Blonde.
She was a blonde-headed girl, yes. And her my mind is.
Yeah, and I just talked to her the other day. God, I'm sorry.
We'll think about it, and we'll come back to it. But I just seen a photograph of her today, and so I was going to say something about her, but we'll remember that. It's not that we don't remember you, by the way. We're just getting old, and we do good to remember our names. So,
Richard saying that his mother was working at Crawford Long Hospital, where Ted DiBiase was hospitalized in Atlanta.
Yeah, we went there. You remember we went there and did an interview. Dad actually went there and did an interview with Ted DiBiase while he was in the hospital, and he did stay there a few days to make it legitimate. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Judy Martin. It wasn't Judy Martin. It wasn't Bambi. It wasn't any of those. It wasn't Joyce Grable.
Candy Divine.
Candy Divine. That's who it is. Candy Divine. Great lady wrestler, by the way. She was magnificent. Bambi was too. Peggy Lee Leather, tremendous wrestler. It was so great. Timmy Lee Mitchell said, "If it wasn't for Continental, I would have never happened to the independent circuit."
I'm going to tell you, we've been reviewing those Continental shows in 1985, and I can assure you, I can tell you, I believe the Continental show was far superior than both the World Championship Wrestling and Mid-South at the time.
The Fullers, Bob Armstrong, Rolly Welch, Jimmy Golden did a tremendous job. Continental Championship Wrestling. They should be very proud of the product that they put out. All right, guys, we're going to have to leave because we got to go over to the supporter page and actually get over there. And Stuart, if you did not get the thing, come on over to us. It is there. I think you said you did get it this morning, and all you have to do is hit on that. And then I think we're going to talk about two different things. I think we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in professional wrestling today. And we'll talk. What was the other thing, Rodney? So Eddie Gilbert
and Ron West is supposed to be on this one.
And so we'll talk about that
before we leave. Hold it before we leave. We had a passing of our cousin Gary Myers. Passed away yesterday, and we hope that you would pray for his family, our family. It was a very rough time they've had the last few days, and so our prayers go out to Dot and Angie and Lois, and know that we love you, and we'll be here for you.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. And don't miss it next Monday. We'll be talking Mid-South Wrestling, and we will be talking about all kinds of stuff of professional wrestling. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out.